So if you remember, earlier this year, I sent out a survey asking a couple of questions. And really, it's one question. What are you most curious about? First, uh, as the series starts moving from book 6 to book 10 and toward its close, at least for this part of the National Park Mystery Series, because I do plan to write more books. And I'm not sure if it'll be the same characters or not, but more books in other series sets that are set in the national parks. But this will come to a resolution in book 10, which is set in the Grand Tetons. And so, what are you most curious about? Was for the series, and then what are you most curious about when it comes down to the end of book 6 or book 6? So let's take a look at the answers. So for the series, there were like 200 respondents, but these were the themes, the ones that people were asking the most. And for the series, number 1, what will they discover at the end of the scavenger hunt? And that's kind of my favorite question. How's this all going to come together to a satisfying ending? Number 2, what's in the box that Jake received at the beginning of his quest? So at the beginning in Rocky Mountain National Park, he received this box. And really, I wrote that as his stepping through the threshold. If you remember, he has to kind of make a decision to take it. And when he takes it, it's like stepping through a threshold. And you'll notice also that he literally steps out the threshold of the cabin with that box. And then it shifts his identity to the identity of the keeper. So that was the original function, or the kind of initial, I should say, function of the box. But the big question is what's inside. And if you remember, one of the things that his grandfather said is that it's going to open at the right time. So we will see how it opens. Well, right, if it opens at the right time. And then what's the significance of the spearhead? So both questions, these are both kind of artifacts that are in Jake's care. And we're wondering about those. And then the number 1, by far, was the true identities and history of the director and the twin owls. Like, what's motivating these guys? I was a little surprised, actually, to see the twin owls mentioned much more than the director, much more than the box, much more than the spearhead. The twin owls, when especially I had actually not given away, I had revealed a good bit of their history and identity in book 3. So if you want to learn more about the twin owls, at least what they've told Jake about who they are and what they're doing, revisit book 3, Grand Canyon, because you're going to learn a lot about them. But there's more to learn. And then I realized, I think I know why. I think I know why people are asking more about the twin owls, because if they've read book 5, I purposefully have decided to make the twin owls recede into the background in book 5. I wanted to write a book in book 5 where the enemy was not, had kind of disappeared into the landscape. And we were left wondering what's going on with these guys. And so naturally people were wondering, what's going on with these guys? What's going on with the twin owls? Are they going to show up again? And I did that on purpose because I also wanted Jake's internal struggle with anxiety, which is something that I think so many of us challenges us to become bigger, more ourselves. I think that's the function. At least that's what I'm learning. The function of anxiety is to show us where we need to grow. And I wanted that to be, with Jake in the fire, I wanted that to be not necessarily the enemy, but the challenge in book 5. But we're left with this question: who are these guys? What's motivating them? What is their background? What are they doing right now in the series? So moving on to the book. So number 3, and I can definitely answer this is for book 6. What What are you most curious about for book 6? I've seen this question before now too. How about Cody and Lucas? Will they return in future books? And you might be wondering, wow, it's been a while. Who are Cody and Lucas? Well, Cody shows up in book 4, and he is saying some pretty mean things to Wes. And if you remember, he gets in a pretty rough situation, and the kids save his life. So we've wanted Cody to come back. I realized, I've got so many characters. I have characters in the past, in the 1880s. I have the 3 kids, and I'm doing something in the series that most authors avoid, and that is pulling parents into the story. Not just parents, but I've got 6 of them. So it's become too many characters. So I don't really have plans to bring in any other kids as regular characters in the book. I don't plan, it could happen, but I don't plan for Cody to come back into the book. I don't have plans for Lucas to come back into the series. However, this is a fun thing. I really would like to write a book, a short novella, 120 pages about Lucas's firsthand experience, and maybe even write it from the first person perspective of him being lost in Yosemite. So, I should probably mention, if you've forgotten who Lucas is, Lucas is the boy who is lost in Yosemite. All right, that answers that. Let's go on to number 2 for book 6. Just a lot of requests for more ciphers, more clues, more interesting facts about the parks, and Wes humor. And then I guess the 1880s pieces, which I think are of course, an essential, like all these pieces here are an essential part of the books. And then the last one, what is Agate doing in Yosemite? So if you remember, the Yosemite book ends with a Morse code. And I think I've gotten a few emails of people asking, like, who's Agate? Well, if you remember, if you go back to book 3, there's a character, and if you've not read the entire series, I'm not going to give this all away, but there's a character named Agatha, or Agate, and she's showing back up in Yosemite. And that really is the big question, and where we're going to start in our initial pages of book 6. So thank you so much for letting me know what is top of mind for you and what's interesting to you. Always feel free to drop us an email at marmot@National Park Mystery Series if there are other questions that you have. I may not be able to answer them, but they're great for me to keep in mind as I'm writing and I'm starting to take the story arc toward a close in book 10.